Thank you very much for coming out. I want to thank my colleague, Councilman Miller and Councilman Cool, for not only being here, for helping hopefully move these piece of legislation forward. The commuter van industry, some of them often called dollar vans, is a major transportation alternative for many people in our districts. Without it, people will literally have difficulty getting to and from work and running errands. There are parts of the city that's not adequately addressed by transportation. Unfortunately, they are often largely ignored or oftentimes overly accused of things that they're not doing. But when it's time for an emergency, the city comes to it. It's happened blackouts, it's happened snowstorms. This is directly who the city goes after and says, can you please allow the city to keep running when there's an emergency, but won't allow them the opportunity to perform the task needed when there's no emergency. So we have a bunch of legislation here, myself, Peter Poole, and particularly Councilman Miller, that does several things. One, it opens the door for them to perform the duties they've been doing for many, many, many years in an easier way. We're only working with those vans that have TLC plates and who are insured. We also are trying our very best to step up enforcement. There are too many vans on the road that have neither TLC plates nor insurance. We encourage the people who live in the districts not to ride them because there's nothing to protect you if something happens. And we encourage everybody to look for the NYC commuter label. But we have to do some things in the legislatively to allow them to do their jobs. And some of that is stepping up enforcement and making sure that people have an opportunity to legally do this. It's been part of the problem. Technically, there's some illegalities. We want to take some of that away and allow a pathway for legalization. And then really, we have to bring the hammer on some people who are operating illegally and making it very dangerous for everyone. So we're going to call on Councilmember Miller first, then Councilmember Miller. Hand clap for Councilmember Miller, please.
Thanks everyone for coming out. This is something certainly that we've been fighting for and often on different sides for decades, quite frankly. There are communities throughout the city of New York, transportation deserts in the case of Southeast Queens and others, extreme transportation deserts, that there is a void of public transportation options. The commuter van industry has filled that void. But there has been a problem with that. As we talked about, as Jamani mentioned a moment ago, the councilman mentioned that there is a proliferation of rogue and illegal vans that operate outside of, operate unregulated and unsafe throughout the community. So we've gotten together on what we think is responsible legislation that will allow for communities to be served in a responsible way. That will allow for communities to be served in a responsible way in addressing these pieces of legislation that we have here. So we have collectively studied the industry, worked on this legislation. I think that this legislation will prove that it will be impactful to the community, that will provide safe, affordable, reliable transportation to the community. At the same time, does not allow the MTA and the city to abdicate their responsibility to provide public transportation, but be able to work together with public transportation in providing the best, safe, and affordable transportation as possible. So this legislation, I think, puts us on the path to safety and affordability and accessibility to all the citizens of New York City, in particular those areas that are transportation desert. This is not the end all, but it is the beginning of really putting together and putting in place an industry that has served our community, but so that it can serve us in a way that our communities really deserve. So we're going to, with this legislation, take them out of the dark, bring them into the light, show what we can really do when we work together, when we work collectively, when we work intelligently, on providing transportation to all the citizens. Thank you.
Hi everyone. I'm City Council Member Peter Koo. I represent Council District 20, which is Flushing, which is a major transit hub. We have number 7 train and a collection of maybe 20 buses coming to our Flushing downtown. And even though we have a lot of buses and a major transportation hub, we still need commuter vans because it's very important. A lot of times the 7 train is over capacity, and a lot of times they have signal problem. They stop running for a few hours in the rush hours. So how do people go to work? They have to go take the commuter way. And elderly people, if they cannot stand too long, they take the commuter van. So we provide them a seat. Commuter van does a lot of good things for our community, not only in transportation. In my community, they also give back to our community. Like the city center, they want to arrange a trip. They always call the commuter van. Commuter vans to take them to an outing or go to see a movie, or things like that. So commuter vans I strongly support, and then I urge our city council to pass these laws because now they are overburdened with all these regulations. They are not good for the industry. The manifest, the passenger manifest. How are you going to get a manifest, advanced manifest? People just come to the bus, right? You can just ask them to put the name and the address. It's like unnecessary. Some of these rules are made a long time ago, so we have to change. Yeah. So I have some of the representatives from the Chinatown commuter vans. So as council members, we must do everything in our power to ensure those who are compliant with city regulations are not unnecessarily penalized. And we should make it easier for them to do business, not harder. So I want to thank Jemani Williams and Denise Miller and all the operators here today coming here. We are here to support you. We don't want gypsy cabs, gypsy vans on the streets because those are unsafe, illegal. I urge all passengers when they take a van, make sure they are licensed, they have a decal on the van, because when they have a decal, it means they have insurance. It will protect you in case you have accidents, something like that. So we urge all our council members to support this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think it's important to remember these commuter van industry is not replacing any transportation. They are part of the transportation of the city. They are part of the fabric of what moves the city around. Without them, there will be people who are stuck. And the city knows that. And we want to make sure we treat them as such with the respect they deserve for moving the city around for so many years. They have burdens on them that no other transportation has in the city. And we think we should even the playing field. We have new transportation, platform transportation that are coming in, have never existed before, and are treated better than the folks behind me who have been helping this city move for many years. So we're going to hear from many of the commuter vans now. First we have Commuter Van Association of New York President Hector Ricketts. We'll hear from Leroy Morrison, Desmond West, and Winston Williams.
Good afternoon. Let me first thank Councilmember Williams for taking the initiative on this reform, and also let me thank my dear Councilmember Denise Miller and Councilmember Koo for recognizing and supporting and taking the lead on the initiative to reform the commuter van laws. Back in the early 90s, this city passed a very onerous piece of legislation called Local Law 115. And it really placed a stranglehold on the commuter van industry, an industry that has rallied to the city's cry every time there is a crisis. Yet, after the crisis is resolved, we are relegated to the underground economy. This piece of legislation, we're asking that the council moves it forward and that it passes. It will reform in a dramatic way the way commuter vans operate in this city. Others have come, as Councilmember Williams alluded to, and have been treated better You can use an app right now and get picked up in your bedroom. Yet people who stand on the corner every day for 10 years can't be picked up without being punished by a commuter van. So we're asking that the city passes this legislation and that there be tough enforcement against rogue operators who threaten the well-being of the public. The mayor launched his Vision Zero. The illegal vans threaten the success of Vision Zero, and it ruins the economy of a group of 460 licensed operators who built an industry and put kids through college, pay for homes in their neighborhoods. This non-activity on behalf of the city and the TLC is going to proliferate the illegal van population in this city. So we're urging the passage of this piece of legislation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. How long have you been driving?
I've been in the commuter van business since 1987, and it's something that I chose to do, having gone through a career in corporate America. And behind me are standing a group of men and women who have put in decades in the business. Many of them started as drivers and now own their own companies, bringing on board many independent operators. So we built a movement. We just want to be recognized and regulated in a fair and balanced manner.
Thank you. You've been driving Councilman Helen Rosenthal.
I'm here in support.
Thank you very much. Who's here in support? Give it up.
I would like to see there is one woman. When you said that,
No, we do have a lot of women.
okay, they're just
We're
not
going to say,
here.
Leroy Morrison. All right, you're going to Leroy.
Good evening. I want to say good afternoon. I want to say thanks to Councilmember Giovanni Williams, Councilmember Cool, also Councilmember Mr. Miller for bringing us into the light and take us out of the dark. Commuter van business has been around for many years. We think when the city's in crisis, they're always calling us, and after the crisis, everything is back to regular life. And we want to be recognized also too. And we are all immigrants. This is the American dreams. The cure for poverty is work. And what we do, we create jobs, and also we make sure that people get to work safely, on time, and recognized. And now we want the city to help us in pushing this legislation forward and make sure everyone get a fair share. And I see how the companies come to New York and they actually, get more share, fair share, and haven't doing nothing for the city. So we want to thank you, Mr. Miller, and everyone, the transportation chair, to move this forward and make sure this legislation done so we can take care of our family. Because right now, the industry right now is pretty much down now because based on this legislation, it's a lot of burden on our companies. We don't know where we're going or where we're coming from. And I've been around for 28 years, driving commuter van, supporting commuter van. We love commuter van. And we're the only share rides in New York City. The only share rides that's in New York City is commuter vans. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Desmond West. How long have you been driving?
28 years.
Yes, good evening. I've been driving for 27 years. This man was from Royal Transportation. During 9/11, we were the unsung heroes of 9/11. Transport respondents to Ground Zero. We have never gotten our fair share of recognition. Now we've been transporting commuters through New York to other crises, and we still have got our fair share. And I think it's about time that the city reformed us and let us get our fair share of what is supposed to be.
And last but not least, Winston Williams. We're very happy to come up.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I thank you for being here. Thank you, Councilman Giovanni. I've been in the industry since 2001, Blackstreet Brand Line. It's a very lucrative business for me to be in it as a single parent, to be able to take care of my son by myself. I enjoy doing it because it's faster, easier, convenient way for the riders in the community that I serve to get to work, to get to the hospital or anywhere that they need to go to. Hoping that these laws that will be passed will really help the industry to a point where one of our main obstacles in it right now is not having enough enforcement to regulate us. And there are so many vehicles from out of state or private plate that doesn't carry the right insurance and even training for the drivers. And when negative things happen in this industry, it's usually shadowed over to these authorized commuter vans that's causing these problems. When most of the problems are existing basically because of the unregulation of the illegal vans that's operating. I love the industry, like I said, and I hope it will continue to rise and be able to continue to be a major part of transportation for New York City. Thank you.
Thank you. And also, I want to make clear, as a city that tries so much to do right by MWBE companies, we have a long way to go. But I would say this is the only transportation company, the only part of the industry that fits underneath the MWBE moniker. These are the only folks that fit under that. And these are the folks, sadly, maybe not unsurprisingly, that have caught the raw end of the deal, although these are the folks that we've come to time and time again in an emergency. Imagine folks coming saying they want to be regulated, they want more regulation, they want more enforcement, but we have to be fair to them. And I think that's an important point to put out, that these are the only folks that fit on the MWBE moniker. It's unfair to lock them out, being able to make money when there are new companies coming on board that have never been a part of the city's fabric and are getting more respect. We're gonna, I want to recognize Councilman Richard. Councilman Richard, for coming out. You want to say a couple words?
Okay, whatever. Okay. In the midst of a blizzard, I remember Bloomberg saying we need the dollar bins. Many of y'all remember that? So they're a necessary fabric in communities like the Rockaways, Southern Queens, where we have poor infrastructure. I'm sure many people, I'm sure my colleague certainly has spoke of that. But also, you know, I just had a shooting in my district last week where some of these unregulated vans were shooting at each other. Literally, the police were out looking for shell casings in my district because some of these unregulated vans who've been problematic were out there acting stupid, as we say. But they really destroyed, and they're major, we get major quality of life concerns from our community who's understanding of the need to have vans in the community because of where we're at, the geography we're at. But we always go back, whether it's the local business across the street from my office, it's a constant headache trying to get NYPD to really, and they want to crack down, but it's very hard on them because these vans are really unregulated. So I commend Councilmember Williams, my colleague, Councilmember Miller. We share technically a district, but I commend everyone for coming together because, listen, it's no different than the conversation we're having citywide now on policing, right? When the small, minute amount of bad actors out there doing bad things, it affects what we think about them. And they shouldn't all be painted with the same brush. I'll tell you that in college, they saved my life. I was able to get home in a decent time from a 3-hour freaking, if I took public transportation, it would have took 3 hours to get to school and back one way. When I got off the E train, I was able to get on a dollar bin, a safe dollar bin, a regulated dollar bin, and really make it home to my family, and not only that, get a few extra minutes in the study. So they really are a fabric that we need. The city needs to be doing more to regulate and to work with the legitimate van drivers, such as the people behind me. And don't call them an emergency. Don't treat them like a stepchild today, and then later on, when there's some sort of emergency, call on them and do nothing to incentivize or help them out. Thank you.
So we want to thank TW, who's here as well. And support giving us some TW. That's very great.
Get bus drivers to support them. That's historic in itself.
Safety.
So
that shows how much we're all on together on one page of this. I want to call Brian Block, Community Board Chair of 13. Come say a few words.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. I'm happy to be here this afternoon. Brian Block, Chairperson of Community Board 13. I represent Southern and Eastern Queens. Councilmember Danique Miller, Councilman Richard, they're both my council people, and I work very closely with them. I'm here this afternoon to support the legislation that's brought on by the other council members because in Queens, Southern Queens, Eastern Queens, we have the vans, but I'm glad that we're looking to push legitimate, licensed, safe vans within Southeast Queens. As Councilman Richard just stated, we've had the vans, but we don't want illegal vans. We don't want vans that are running rogue throughout the district. We want vans that are safe, that will get our folks where they have to go. And it's not a matter where it's discontinuing or we don't want MTA. We want MTA, we want TWU as partners in this situation. But they fill a void. Councilman Richards' area, there's a void out there with regard to mass transit. The vans supply a need. But as he said, safe, quality, licensed vans that will take our residents and our community and our people to their destination. And I'm just so happy to be here. As I said, Councilman Miller, Councilman Cook, Councilman Williams, and Councilman Richards this afternoon. As chair of the board, I'm here to support their initiative and give them any support they may need. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have 2 more speakers who speak briefly, and then we'll take any questions. There was a question about any women drivers. We're very proud that we have one here from Queens, Thelma Williams. Give it up, give it up. Queens.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Thelma Williams from Queens. I do commuter van service from 1981 until now, to present. Now we are having a problem where you can see that we're having this problem. Some of you don't know, which is the 6-year and 2-year renewal. I would like the city to take it away and leave it as it used to be with the state. Because if they don't do that for us, I'm not pleased. Because when the city needs us, we are there for the city to do what the city asks us for. And this is what I and all the van companies and drivers is asking the city to do for us, to take off the trip sheet, the 2-year renewal and the 6-year renewal. We are immigrants come to this country. We vote and we pay tax, right? And I think we are doing a pretty good job out there. And that is our living. And as you see, I use a stick. No one is going to hire me, but I still stay around the wheel to keep my shelter over my head and the kids to school and grandkids to university and college. So I want this bill to pass for us. For we are going to depend on the city to put us in shelter, also to give us food, which is all you people tax money is going to do that. So we are doing it for ourselves. Thank you very much.
All right. Yeah.
Thank you, Thelma.
Save the best for last, that one. We have one more speaker, and we'll take some questions. One of the advocates from the community, Juan Perez.
Thank you, Councilmember Williams, Poole, and Miller. My name is Juan Perez. I am also from the community. I'm not a driver. I own a business in Williamsburg and a rider of the commuter van system. I also serve on the board at the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce on the MWBE committee. Councilmember Williams spoke about these MWBEs. These are new jobs that they're creating as the industry grows. And as the industry shrinks, those are jobs that go away. These are people that are moving our communities, and it's important that we support them. I have supported them with my money. I support them with my time and my efforts, and I hope that the City Council will recognize how important this level of transportation is to our communities and to our city, but also as the economy, as far as the economy is concerned, to help it to grow. So I thank everyone for being here, and I appreciate these business owners, and it's important that we keep in mind that they are business owners, small business owners, and we support them as such.
Thank you very much. I want to just say thank you to all the colleagues who are here. Thank you to Speaker Minister Margarito, the Transportation Chair, that helped get these hearings so we can hear these bills. But now we need them to pass. There's no real reason that we shouldn't get these passed. Summertimes we know there's going to be heightened activity. We want to make sure we have the enforcement and the bills in place to make sure people can be transported safely and efficiently. So we'll take any questions if anybody has.
I wanted to ask about the part of the package that calls for a moratorium on new licensees. You're talking about stamping down road commuter vans. How does putting a moratorium on the existing licensees do anything other than protect those who already have licenses and put people who want to do it?
Well, you'll still have some space to hire more drivers, so you won't completely shut it out. But we also have still a large amount of gap between people who are licensed and what's allowed. So it's not going to shut it down completely. But we also want to make sure we're not opposed to putting some kind of structure. You don't want to have licenses completely open, whether or not the service is needed. So there's still space there for people who want to get new licensed, and then there will still be availability for drivers as well.
How big is the so-called gypsy industry?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if anybody knows how big the gypsy industry is. People, when they say gypsy, often include them in it, so I don't know if you mean them or not. But it is pretty large. If you go to most places that have lack of transportation, particularly subway service, whether it's in Queens, Southern Brooklyn, you just see them. And then you see them going different locations. I think there's some that go back and forth in Williamsburg and Chinatown. So there's different. They do different things. It's pretty big. I think without it, the city would severely suffer in terms of moving people around.
So you've had a hearing on the 3 bills, you haven't had a hearing on the 4th one, and you're asking for what's holding up the vote since you had the hearing on the first 3 already.
So we're trying to figure that out. We believe that we have a lot of support in the city council to get this passed. So we're working with the speaker and particularly the chair to see when we can schedule a vote. I'd like to see a vote this summer. We don't want the summer to go out. I don't. We've been speaking with the administration on it. There's a lot of agreement. There's some points that they may not agree fully, but I think we still have the support to move to those forward.
Do you think that the legislation would inspire some of the road drivers to legitimize in certain neighborhoods?
Well, that's the plan. We want to make sure that's why that's an important question. There is some space to legitimize. We want people to feel that they can do this in a legitimate fashion. If you have no legitimacy route, that makes it very hard. So we're doing two things. We're providing a route for people who want to do this legitimately, and we're stepping up the enforcement for the people who choose not to go that route.
How many spots do you have? Say your the moratorium passes as part of the package. How many spots would be open for people who want to go straight?
I think that it's changed, but I think it's several hundred. So I have to find out and get back. There was a significant amount. And again, you still have the ability to hire drivers.
Sorry, I'm confused. Do you mind if you could explain that?
I believe if I'm correct, I'm licensed to operate, and you can still hire additional drivers under that license.
So what is the moratorium for getting a new one?
It will be licensed.
Why has enforcement been relaxed?
So we're not 100% sure. I think it's a matter of priorities and things that our police department obviously have a lot of things they have to cover. They get a lot of calls, but also the problem is they have to work together with TLC. So there has to be a coordinated effort with TLC because TLC doesn't have the same protections. I actually a couple of years ago really had to jump in there. TLC was in a very bad spot trying to do this enforcement, and it's difficult for them to do without YPD, and you have to coordinate that. So what we really are pushing for, I mean, it's very rare to have an industry saying please come and do more enforcement, but we need that. We want that. One of these pieces of legislation will increase the fines. It's Councilman Miller to increase the fine, flee from TLC officers. So we're putting we're trying to put all the tools needed to do this, and we want to.
Industry has often, say, the taxi industry has often complained TLC just doesn't have the bodies in its enforcement unit. Is there anything you think that needs to be addressed by the council, getting them more money so they actually can cover enough of areas?
We might have to. They haven't said to us that was the problem. So we would
Do you
love
think it's a problem?
It probably is. They probably definitely need some more bodies to make it happen. But I would say this TLC chair, this TLC has been pretty supportive in helping legitimize this group of folks. So we're happy about that. We started some of this last term. We got the decals on. So we got a lot of support from this particular TLC commissioner and this TLC. We needed to move a little faster.
So there's so many road vans out there, and there's still so many spaces available for legitimate operators. Do you think there are barriers in the licensing process that need to be addressed?
I mean,
or why don't you think those
they haven't mentioned it, but they spend a lot of money for their licenses and their insurance. That's always a barrier to starting any business. So if you could not face that barrier, do it illegally without paying that money, and nobody's going to prevent you from doing it. Human being, that might be what happens. But then now these guys are spending all the money, you're taking away their business, and more importantly, you're putting communities in danger because you have no insurance. If something happens, many times you're not even sure the license plates or the same license plates that are supposed to be with that harm. So there's a lot of negativity happening. So we want to make sure. I just thought it was unfair to bring the hammer down without even having a pathway to the So basically, we're kind of do both at the same time.
So folks mentioned gap-based services. Do you think that the city is showing too much favoritism to the Hoopers and Lyft?
Absolutely, there's no doubt about that. Places like Uber and Lyft have been seen showing a lot of favoritism in terms of being accepted into the fabric. This group of MWBE employers have not. We need to even that up. Still, we want to need a little bit more regulation themselves. That's another person. Any other questions? Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate it. Hopefully next time we speak, it'll be at the passage of these bills. Thank you guys so much.